And I wonder if they're not walnut even. I'll let you know if I can make it. At 9 a.m. I won't.
The generic version.
It's like, this
Of
seems
course,
like
they
a
were upstairs.
I'll take that.
Because this was the picture.
Right. Oh, you can keep talking for a little bit. It's okay.
Do you have an agenda?
I do. Needy, unprepared, Andrew. Come on, dude.
Just looking out for you.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It is already December 1st, 2021, and we will go ahead and call this meeting of the Fergus Falls Committee of the Whole, City Council Committee of the Whole to order. Roll call, please.
Here.
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 There. All right. Full house. Thank you. Let's jump right into it. Andrew, will you please tell us about the first agenda item, the Visit Fergus Falls contract?
I'd be happy to, Your Honor. Council members, committee members, good morning. It's been a long time since we've talked about a contract with our tourism group, the Visit Fergus Falls. The last contract the city and the CVB at the time put into place was 2003, so about 18 years ago. And that contract was on automatic renewal with the expectation that it would be reviewed annually. And in talking with Gene Bowman, we realized that probably hasn't happened for many, many years. And so we thought it might be easier to just start over and simplify the agreement. A lot of the provisions in the old agreement had a lot of detail that just simply weren't necessary because of the role that the city plays in relation to Visit Fergus Falls as the fiscal host. And quite frankly, a lot of the things that the lodging tax can be spent on or the activities of the of Visit Fergus Falls are guided by state statute and or city code. So it gives us the opportunity to really simplify an agreement, make it more user-friendly, and that's what's before you this morning. So we're looking at this proposed agreement being a 3-year term with an automatic annual renewal unless it's terminated by either party. We did build in a 60-day notice provision to terminate that contract for any reason. In your packets, there's a red line version, so you can see kind of some of the changes that were made. Materially, there hasn't been really any changes to the agreement. The way the lodging tax works is when somebody stays at one of the hotels in town, they pay a lodging tax, which is then remitted to the city, eventually remitted to the city, and then 97% of that goes to Visit Fergus Falls to fund their activities, and the city retains 3% of that to compensate the city for serving as the fiscal host for Visit Fergus Falls. That setup and relationship has worked very well. As their fiscal host, they're included within the audit that the city does, and our finance team is always able to see books and how things and activities are going related to Visit Fergus Falls. Further, I just want to note there are 2 council members that serve on the Visit Fergus Falls board currently. There is within the bylaws of Visit Fergus Falls a standing position for a city council member. So there is the expectation that there will be, constant contact and or collaboration between the city and Visit Fergus Falls. Visit Fergus Falls is, under this agreement, still has the same expectations in terms of delivery and working with our hospitality industry, promoting Fergus Falls as a tourism destination, encouraging folks to visit, stay, play, all those fun things. So that's really, in a nutshell, what we're looking at. Again, the only obligation of the city within this agreement is to serve as fiscal host, which is what we're doing currently. So there's no additional duties, there's no additional time commitments or constraints related to this for the city, and the formula, like I mentioned, is exactly the same. So the Visit Fergus Falls board did a lot of work with this and were very helpful, and they approved this at their November 15th meeting. So if the city council is on board, we need a resolution. Well, we'll move it to council, and then on Monday we'll get a resolution allowing us to execute the agreement. All right. I'll offer that.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Krista? Thank you very much.
I got a couple of comments.
Let's pass the motion.
No, let's take his comments
No.
first.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm waking up.
And they're not negative ones. But I just wondered, do any of the hoteliers have a place on the board?
Good word.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, council members. Absolutely. Our bylaws have regulations about the number of members in several categories who are required to be on the board, and that is the hospitality industry. They comprise the largest percent of our board composition. There's the hospitality industry, and that's restaurants, attractions, those kinds of businesses. And then there's an at-large category. So those are the three categories from which we select our board members. And then, as Andrew mentioned, there's a standing position for a city council appointee. And we also have a standing position for someone from the Bigwood Event Center, which we've put on hold in 2021. But as soon as staff is hired to work at the Bigwood Event Center, we'll have, one of those two staff positions also serve on our board to give us that input and perspective about the meetings and conferences business.
Right, thank you.
This is Mike Trudeau. He's our chairman of the board from the Country Inn and Suites.
Yep, thank you.
Right. All right.
Your Honor, to that end, since Gene went there, I'm just going to promote real quickly that we do currently have 2 job openings for city positions at the Bigwood Event Center. They are both full-time opportunities, and I believe they close next Monday. So if folks are interested, they should check that out on our website or reach out to Mike Hartwell and apply that way. So free press.
All right. Yeah. Get your name in the hat if you're interested. Okay. So now let's vote on the motion. We do roll call. Okay. Thank you. So all in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay. That carries. Thank you very much. Next up is Brian with the Campus View Edition Preliminary Engineering Report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, and members of this committee. We're just getting set up right here, but just going to note this is in regards to Public Improvement 5958. The preliminary engineering report has been completed for this project. This public improvement is proposed to be specially assessed per city policy and Minnesota Statute 429 requirements. The work items associated with the special assessments in general consists of street, sidewalk, sanitary sewer with services, water main with services, storm sewer improvements that would serve the benefiting properties. I just want to go over some high-level key points of the preliminary engineering report that is attached in your packet. Right now, up on the screen here, and I'm just going to be on the one onto the north here. This is the final plat that has been approved for the Campus View Estates plat, consisting of 3 blocks and a lot of lots. I'm just going to point out here for people, this is where my pointer is. This is Park Street running north and south, intersection of Hillside Avenue. Bounded to the southwest of this new development here is North Union Avenue. So referring back to the preliminary engineering report, the existing utilities to serve this development originate on Park Street. We're proposing to extend 8-inch water main to serve the benefiting properties along with the associated hydrants. And also with the sanitary sewer, we're proposing to extend 8-inch sanitary sewer main, of course with the sewer manholes needed for this along with the sewer services. The proposed street is composed of a 36-foot wide street with curb and gutter with a sidewalk on we haven't determined what side's the best for this development. I just want to note the 36-foot wide street width is our minimum standard to allow parking on both sides, which I think is what we need for this type of housing development. Going further into we're also proposing Outlaw B here is the primary, which is the permanent stormwater treatment pond to serve this development. There will also be a series of a few catch basins and everything for the conveyance to the stormwater pond that will eventually outlet into the existing storm sewer connected to Park Street. Just want to, like I mentioned, this project is to be specially assessed. In the very back of your report, I'm just going to go refer onto that here. You have the proposed assessment roles. The methodology for each one of these assessments, we're proposing the street be on a per unit basis, water as well per unit basis, sanitary sewer main with services per unit, and a water main with services too, as well as per unit basis for this development. Storm sewer, we're proposing the storm sewer be a square foot for all the benefiting properties into this development. I mentioned here, this table shows all the special assessments for all lots, block 1, lots 1 through 9, block 2, lots 1 through 14, and block 3, lots 1 through 4. As mentioned, we're looking at special assessments. The total preliminary engineering estimated cost for this project is about $1.795 million. The tentative funding sources is general obligation tax bonds. The project is to be funded by levying these special assessments to the benefiting properties. In doing so, the collection of tax increments to replace these special assessments is the funding source for these bonds. And I know, Bill, we can elaborate that a little bit if need be and everything. On November 15th, the City Council scheduled the preliminary improvement project hearing for December 20th, 2021, beginning at 5:30 in these council chambers. Publications along with individual notices will be sent to the subject properties. The overall project schedule has not been totally developed, but we're attempting to start full construction in spring. However, we'll be taking bids. There's going to be some sequential steps that have to occur before this, but we're looking to take bids prior to doing a final cost hearing and awarding the contract like similar years past. So at this time, I'm opening up to any questions, but I'm requesting the recommended action is to accept the preliminary engineering report for public improvement 5958. And I just want to note with this preliminary engineering report that myself and Interstate Engineering determined this project is necessary, cost-effective, and feasible to provide access and utilities to this Campus View Estates development. So at this time, Mr. Chair, we'll open up to any questions you may have.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We told Brian about putting a sidewalk on Park Street. Can we include that? I mean, we kind of talk about the fact that we're a pedestrian and pedal-friendly city, and if we're going to put this much money into infrastructure, I think we should start incorporating sidewalks. So, and especially on Park Street, where it's going to be a long kind of stretch up to the veterans' home.
That was my question too, is why one side of the street on some of those instead of both sides of the street? Just with, it looks like obviously there's going to be a fair amount of people in there, and just knowing that the Kirkbride is a pretty pedestrian busy area, just making sure we have enough sidewalks.
That's a good point. Do you have thoughts on that, Brian?
Certainly, yeah. I mentioned on Campus Drive, we're proposing a sidewalk along Park too as well. Being that, yes, we are funding this, we can look and distribute those costs to the proposed assessment rolls that we're doing right now at this time. Now it'll be a matter of, we'd have to do some cost estimates by extending how much that would cost to extend the sidewalk all the way up to veterans' homes up there as well.
Yeah, I would see that getting quite a bit of use, so, yeah, good point. Anyone else, questions, comments, concerns? Do we have a motion to add that to the agenda?
I'll make that your own.
Anthony, thank you. Brent, thank you. Brent seconds. Okay, so all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And that carries. Okay. And Brian, version 2.0, airport maintenance and operations agreement.
Thank you. Just in addition to the state of Minnesota and federal grant programs utilized for airport capital improvement projects, the Fergus Falls Municipal Airport also receives funding to supplement annual operations. This isn't from the state of Minnesota. This is known as Airport Maintenance and Operations Grant Contracts. I've attached a grant, the actual grant for state fiscal year 2022 and 2023. The state, once again, is offering 75% reimbursement for eligible items, not to exceed $71,453 per fiscal year. These types of funds are used to provide certain wages, heating, electrical, maintenance parts, and supplies, pavement repairs to the airport itself. Those are considered those eligible items. So at this time, I'm requesting committee to accept the State of Minnesota Airport Maintenance and Operations M&O grant for state fiscal years 2022 and 2023.
All right. Thank you very much, Brian. Anybody have any questions on that?
No, I don't have a question.
Really?
I'll make the motion to accept it.
Hey,
I'll second that.
Hey, thanks, Anthony and Caroline. All right. So all in favor of that, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That passes. All right. Brian, do you have anything else for us, like the NP Park playground improvements?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Thank you. I'm just going to put it up on the screen here because I don't think we've quite shown the latest design for the NP Park improvements. If you recall, Mrs. Sarah Duffy introduced the city to this particular project and has been spearheading the efforts and donation works for this project. This is our latest rendering. More engineering provides some assistance on the more final design. City staff, we did some preliminary design. But what's showing here is the plan view of the current NP Park improvements. It's maybe hard to see right here, but this is Cascade Street. Our city library is located here to the east. There's the existing restrooms right here, and this particular area right here. In the center of your page is the new playground, the NP Park playground features. I don't have the renderings, but this is, like I mentioned, an engineering drawing, so it does throw some footprints of some of the new features and playground equipment utilized for this project. We're proposing the concrete border all the way around to the park, connecting up to the existing sidewalk and everything with this project. Mentioned this is a collaborative effort, so so there will be, for budgetary constraints, I'm soliciting for other costs, and we're looking for something to keep this project within budgets and everything. Like I mentioned, this is the full build-out. It is subject to change. That's based on pricing and everything and availability of funding if we want to proceed moving forward. But to begin this project, so I had to solicit quotes for the granular import. We are raising this playground about 3 feet approximately, give or take. Because of these costs, I solicited for 2 local contractors. Berry Construction submitted the lowest quote in the amount of $33,328. Also, in addition to the granular import, we do have to do a certain amount of storm sewer modifications. This consists of somewhat in the red, some new catch basins, along with some drainage inlets in the park to provide drainage for the new park features. I solicit quotes once again for the storm sewer work, and Berry Construction submitted the lowest quote in amount of $14,569.62. If acceptable, these are proposed to be funded with the private funding donations and transfers from the liquor store fund. The storm sewer improvements are proposed to be funded through the Storm Enterprise Fund. So at this time, I'm requesting the award quote granular import quote to Berry Construction in an amount of $33,348.28, and award the storm sewer improvement quote to Berry Construction as well in an amount of $14,569.62.
I'll offer that, Your Honor. Thank you. Jim? Scott, second? Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Scott?
I think this is a good project. A real simple question, though. The concrete perimeter sidewalk area, as it goes off to the northwest of the restrooms, is it steps or a ramp over there?
It's proposed to be a ramp at this time. There are 2 steps going up to this restroom, I believe.
From the wide area of the park, you mean?
From the existing, I believe there is. And what we're trying to achieve with this whole project is the playground features themselves with the surfaces and ADA approved impact surface. Also with the sidewalk and everything, we're looking to have an ADA transition right into the bathrooms as well. So that's the overall goal for this project too.
Very good.
All right, thank you. Good question, Scott. All right, I just really like the phrase granular import. It rolls off the tongue. Okay, so all in favor of that, adding that to the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
That passes. Great. Well, thank you, Brian. It was a marathon effort. Next up, the Rural Child Care Innovation Program grant with Clara.
Thank you. Good morning. So this is essentially a request to submit a grant application for a capacity and data building project that will help us tackle our childcare problem. It's a national issue. It is not just singular to Fergus Falls, but Children's First Finance has a program called the Rural Child Care Innovation Program, RCCIP XLYN.
It's early.
Yeah. And can you go to the next slide, please, Lynn? So it's a community engagement process that's designed to address the challenges of childcare in rural communities by First Children's Finance. So we work with First Children's Finance to do the like the data and the numbers for our childcare offerings here in Fergus Falls. We have an office that works with us fairly closely. They're regional. So I've been in touch with their office several times, and they are excited to hopefully work with us through this process and actually spend a decent amount of time in Fergus Falls, so they will be available to be helpful through this process. So the possible outcomes of other communities who have gone through this program, some of them come out of it with a startup of new childcare programs, mentorship programs. The pod model is an outcome of other communities who have worked with this, and community and business partnerships, and then also just an increased awareness of the childcare issue at hand. It would be a free process for us. We would not be paying to work with Children's First Finance, and it would be about an 18 to 24 month process. So a little bit of legwork goes into it, a decent amount of time, which is why I'm bringing this forward to you, just so you're aware that this is what I would like my department to be working on in a fairly significant capacity. So the application is due in January. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that this is what I am really excited to look into, and I am hoping that you are supportive of it.
I don't think anyone would disagree that the lack of childcare is a significant issue, both economically and quality of life. So, do we have a motion,
I'll offer that.
Caroline?
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Brent had his finger up first. Sorry. You got to be quicker with the finger.
I'll wait my turn.
Tender driving. Okay, so
Which finger was it?
yeah.
You'll have to watch the video.
All right. All in favor of that, please.
I got a
signify.
question, Your Honor.
Oh, sorry, Glenn.
I mean, I just want to know, is anybody else in the community, so we're not duplicating efforts. If the city is doing this, is the county also doing this? So that United Way, because we've got West Central Initiative that's doing a childcare initiative, we've got United Way that's doing a childcare initiative, the county's doing some, how many groups are going to be doing it?
So with this program, we would actually be working with all of those other groups as sort of a steering committee that we would all be working together.
Right. So that we're not replicating,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's a good question.
So it seemed that that's kind of been the issue in the past, is we've had such a divergence of people doing it that nothing ever gets done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Question. The program, as you presented it, it's an 18 to 24 month deal, and you also said they will come. Who would be involved in this besides you and your department?
Children's First Finance, and then a steering committee that would be made up of various members of the community. Amy Baldwin from the county would likely be involved. West Central Initiative has their child care staff that would also like to be involved. So that's they, an overarching.
Is it bringing in someone from the Twin Cities, some organizer? It sounded like that was, I just was taking that there was some other person or group coming from somewhere.
Children's First Finance, that's the group. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not familiar with that group, so I don't know what kind of people or stuff
Yeah.
they would bring.
They have regional staff who work with, I think it's a 5-county region that includes Otter Tail County.
Then does this program essentially end in 18 to 24 months, or does this create some new Office of Child Care, something that goes on forever?
The outcome of the program would be a plan document that would outline what next steps could be taken with childcare. And what I've seen from other communities is that throughout the process, they actually start implementing some of the steps, so the outcome can actually be like a new childcare center or something similar. So it kind of depends on where our capacity lies or where we end up with the program. Does that make sense? Kind of?
More or less.
Okay.
I think it would be kind of good if we could sort of almost set some goals and objectives
Yeah.
out of it, because 18 to 24 months is a long time from now, and we'll never remember today then. So I think, maybe once the application's done, I mean, if there's something in there that we can try to have something to aim for.
Sure. Yes. Yep. Yeah, and I'll just clarify that, that one of the outcomes, can you go back to one more forward? There. So creation of a community-specific action plan is one of the outcomes of this program. So we would have a document at the end of it that would give us some next steps. But like I was saying, other communities would have started implementing their plan before they've finished the 18 to 24 months.
Yes. Oh, okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Well, thanks for working on this, Clara. Appreciate it. All in favor of adding that to the agenda, please, or excuse me, that'll be submitting the application. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? All right, that passes. Thank you very much. And Clara, again, with the Glacial Edge Trail Agreement.
Yes, so in or around 2017, the city undertook a planning process that resulted in the Glacial Edge Trail Master Plan. In about 2019, the county made it one of their priorities to also work on trail planning, and they have added a section of trail that would directly connect with the Glacial Edge Trail plan that the city has. So what they did is they worked with HKGI to make an amendment to the plan that was already created. So what we are looking at this morning is having you guys agree to the amendment, and then also recognize that agreeing to the amendment means that if and when the trail is completed, the city would have certain obligations to caring for the trail, and the county would also have certain obligations. So there has been an agreement drawn up that says the city and the county both recognize that they will work together, but that they have separate jurisdictions that they just need to pay attention to. So, and Mr. Nick Leonard from the county is also here. He's been closely involved with the process over at the county, and if you have any questions about their process, I think he's willing to answer them.
Does anyone have any of the aforementioned questions? Anthony?
Maybe for the county people that are here, it's like, well, where are we actually at in the process? I mean, is any of it going to get built anytime soon?
Mr. Chair, council members. So I'll just back up a step. In 2019, Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails, you have a designated or trail of regional significance already, the Glacial Edge Trail. I believe you received that designation prior to 2019. They approached us and said, you have two primary corridors identified in your master plan. We have an east to west corridor, which is what we affectionately refer to as the Perham to Pelican Rapids Regional Trail, better name coming. That is a 5-segment trail. That was our primary priority in our master planning. 4 of the 5 segments will be built by next August. So we're working on bonding right now for the final segment, which is the segment within Maplewood State Park. Our very next priority is that north and south segment. So that would be the segment that would go from Fergus Falls to Maplewood State Park. And that's a priority for two reasons. One is it's an obvious connection, our most densely populated community, to one of the largest state parks in the state. But secondarily, there's currently 2 U.S. Designated bike trails systems in Minnesota. MnDOT is currently seeking feedback on a third, and that's U.S. Bike Trail 20, which would go from St. Cloud all the way to Moorhead. So through Alexandria, through, all the way up. And if we don't have an alternative route, MnDOT will simply take path of least resistance, I suspect, which is Highway 59. But if we have this other route, and if you look at the map, and I'll send it out to you, the MnDOT information to all of you, it already calls out, hey, if Otter Tail County and the city of Fergus Falls get this Glacial Edge Trail connection done, we'd much rather use this regional trail corridor. So to answer, long-winded way to answer your question, we're one segment away from moving on to our next highest priority corridor, which is that north-south corridor.
Okay. Thanks for the update.
Yeah, great project that be very widely used. So thanks, Nick. Thanks, Clara. Do we have a?
I'll motion that.
Let's see if we have a city council who wants to be excused, but I'll take that. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate that. Do we have a second to Justin's?
I'll second.
Thank you, Krista. Appreciate that. All in favor of that, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Fabulous. That carries as well. And we have, this just in, another item to add. This is a Brian item regarding 2022 Lincoln Avenue.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, you are correct. This is a new business item, working with states and our consultant here. Actually, yesterday we had a conversation in regards to this. This is for Public Improvement 5314. This is our next year's 2022 federal state STIP program. It consists of ADA improvements and road resurfacings along Union, south all the way to Lincoln, and then going east on Lincoln all the way to Freiburg Avenue. So it will be a pretty significant project for the city, but I also think it's much needed throughout this corridor. So during some of the review, we're currently working with the state on the project memorandum for this project. We have determined, though, we do have a minor issue with some of the on-street bike lane facilities, more so on Lincoln Avenue. If you recall, Lincoln Avenue does currently have sharrows marked on there. However, even under that aspect, we're still not meeting state aid requirements for on-street facilities such as a sharrow. That's per statute 8820. The particular area that we're looking at, and I'll try to best explain what we're looking at in the scenarios we have, being its new development. This is kind of a color-coded map to show a little bit, hopefully a little bit easier of what we're trying to attempt to do. If you could just scroll, okay, there, thank you, Lynn. Now, these are two of the same views, just two different options of the same location. It's maybe a little bit harder to see, but this is Union running north and south, and this is the intersection of Lincoln. Union, and then Lincoln as we go east right here. The issues we're having right now, either way we look at our bike lane facilities, we do not have adequate road width. This is in the southeast quadrant of the Lincoln Avenue intersection. Because of this, we have two options we've developed that will meet the state aid requirements and the state aid under our review. The option on the above is we're calling it alternate A. This consists of the installation of bike lanes. So instead of sharrows, having designated bike lanes from Union to Lincoln, just showing right, if you look over on your screen here on the right, we're looking at a 7.5-foot parking lane, 5-foot bike lane, 2 11-foot drive lanes, bike lane, and 7.5-foot parking lane. To the best of my knowledge, we can have this arrangement throughout this whole corridor, once again from Freiburg to Union Avenue. However, under this scenario, we do have to remove a portion of the existing curb and gutter. There's some bollards. I don't anticipate a lot, however, we're just new development, but there is a catch basin. We have a light standard as well and a street light. However, we don't anticipate those would be interfered with. But what we do know, there's about 45 feet of curb and gutter that have to be removed and relocated at most about 4 feet inward to facilitate widening the road in this particular area to meet these standards. I also want to know, we also already are doing, this is a ped ramp removal and replacement to meet ADA standards in this same vicinity. So the major work component too is removal of curb and gutter, the existing bollards that are there as well, and some of the pavers, and it will be restored accordingly. Under both these scenarios, I just want to know, we're not looking to take up any parking at all. We will have some striping modifications, but the existing parking is shown in this yellow bay. Now, the other alternate design is alternate B. This is pretty much consistent with our sharrows. However, we have to meet certain width standards and everything to sharrows. Under this scenario, we still have feet of curb and gutter. from the existing as well. So there will be some removals, however, not as much as alternate A. But the entirety of this project, $1.2 million project, to make these facilities, I think it's kind of a minor cost, even though we're doing all this work. I do want to note an alternate D, though. It's a little bit per state aid standards. It's purple area. This is showing a shared lane designation. This is kind of a transition area, so we have two options. We could, under alternate B, we can have the shared lane design and extend it all the way throughout the whole corridor to Freiburg, or we can have a shared lane scenario and transition into bike lanes as well. Either scenario, we still have some removals that we have to do in the southwest quadrant. So just wanted to share that with you at this time. I mentioned there's not going to be any parking disturbed, but there will be a little bit, like I mentioned, removal and replacement and restoration associated with this. So at this time, my recommendation under what the type of work we have to do and expenses, at the current time, I'm kind of recommending that we do go with a little bit more extensive removal and replacement and install designated bike lanes throughout this whole corridor instead of the sharrows turning into the bike lanes. Like I mentioned, this is no, but I just wanted to get the council's awareness and take on this project that we're looking to start midsummer of next year. I also want to note, and I'll open to any questions, there was some discussion about having bike lanes too along Union North from Lincoln up to Fur Avenue. I just want to note with the geometric configuration in a portion of the corridor, and we can have more discussion on this as well, whatever the council desires, but a good majority of that whole corridor, over half of it, we would have to remove parking from either side of the street. So I just want to make note of that as we move forward with this project. If we were to consider anything like that, standard procedure in the past has been to have a public hearing. But for purposes of conversation right now, I just wanted to talk about what I have shown here up on the screen about the modifications to Lincoln Avenue in the southeast quadrant, and I'll open up to any questions you may have. Yes, sir.
Your recommendation then is alternate A, correct?
Correct.
All right.
We have a certain extent of removals there. So it's a matter of if we want to, this allows us to have the physical features corrected, I guess you could say, to meet these requirements. So if we want to go a shared lane, or in the future if we want to switch to a bike lane, we don't have this type of work to do.
Well, you have the bike lane there, and that makes sense to have the bike lane rather than sharing it with the vehicles.
Correct.
I think alternate A looks fantastic. I like that one quite a bit. So that's got my vote. Any other questions, comments, Scott?
The design throughout Lincoln that has the bike lanes through the majority of the block, not specifically at the intersections, are those bike lanes a required part of this, or was that something that we just chose to include?
No. Councilmember Kwame, no, we have existing sharrows that were placed in this road corridor, so we're just trying to improve the on-street facilities of it existing. I don't know, Linda, maybe we want to scroll up and we'll just go to the very first page and maybe second page just to kind of give. The sheet I just showed you was was just to point out the subject area, but this right here, once again, is what we were looking at, is this particular area. But as we move farther to the east, we're just showing, and we can keep on moving to the next block, which would be Mill and Court. It pretty much resembles the same thing. Oh, this right here, this is a rendering actually of Cascade Street here, running north-south on the left-hand side of the screen. And this is our termini, which is Freiburg Avenue.
I'll offer the motion for Plan A.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second it.
Caroline, thank you. All right, all in favor of that, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
That carries. So,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. And now it's my understanding that we are going to adjourn to a closed session. Is that correct? Oh, Claire's going to introduce it, and then we'll adjourn.
And we'll reopen, Your Honor.
Then we'll reopen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We have received a letter of interest from OSTPI, who is currently located in Fergus Falls. They rent space, but they are looking to build a new building, and one of the sites that has caught their eye is the remainder of the lot that holds the city's West Liquor Store. So they have sent a proposal in for an amount that they'd be willing to pay for that, and my hope is that we can discuss some sort of a response to their request. So with that, I think based on state statute that I do not
That's
remember.
13D.05.
Thank you.
One of my favorites.
Everyone's favorite.
Rule 13.
I hope we can adjourn to a closed session so that we can discuss the offer and a market analysis